Welcome back to another video. It's time to predict the scores for game week 3 of this 2024-2025 Premier League season. Just a quick recap, Nathan. Last week you came away with 5 out of 10 or 7.5 points. I came away with 8 out of 10 results and 14.5 points overall and one perfect score. Later on in the video I'll just be running through the current prediction league table as well. But let's just jump straight into it and make our predictions for game week 3.
Starting off, we've got two teams at 12:30 who have both got 6 points at the moment. Arsenal up against Brighton. Arsenal getting that very good victory at Villa Park against Villa, and then Brighton stealing it in the last minute against Manchester United. They had a very good game there. Hutzler looks to be an amazing manager as well. Where do I go with this one? Tricky as much as I can see Brighton keeping up their really good starts to the season. I just think Arsenal have way too much firepower at the moment, and it's going to be another clean sheet for the Gunners, so 2-0.
Yeah, that would make it their third clean sheet of the season out of their 3 matches. Brighton played really well against Manchester United last weekend. Got all 3 points deservedly, you could say, in the end. I think Arsenal could concede in this fixture at home. They got through a real tricky tie against Aston Villa last time out. Kind of a lot of people saying that that's Arsenal's bogey side. And to win that one 2-0 in the end was a real good performance, and they got players who can come in, the likes of Trossard, who got on the score sheet, etc. I think he came in with the assist in that one. So I think Arsenal will win this one, but I think they'll find Brighton a real tough opponent, but I am going to go for a 2-1 victory to the Gunners. Next up, we got the first of the 3 o'clock kickoffs, where we've got Brentford coming up against Southampton. Southampton winless at the moment. Haven't scored a goal in their first 2 matches as well. Played okay in both their fixtures, both being defeated against Newcastle and Nottingham Forest 1-0. Brentford, it was always going to be tough against Liverpool last weekend, but they gave a good account of themselves. They didn't break that rear guard of Liverpool. So in this one in London, I think it's going to be the same old story with Southampton, a little bit toothless in front of goals, although they are having quite a few attempts on goal. So same old story for Southampton in this one. I'm going to go for a 1-0 victory to Brentford, and they're still without Tony. It looks like he's going to be on his way.
Yeah, it's looking well with Southampton. They're doing exactly the opposite as last season. Last season, really leaky at the back, but scoring a good amount of goals. This season, not scoring enough, but seems to be a bit stronger at the back, even though it's just boring hipster football, isn't it? Brentford, they're looking a more sharper team at the moment. I think they're going to scrape through 2-1, to be honest. Anyway, moving on. Next, we've got Everton, who are currently rock bottom of the league, but getting bashed 4-0 and 3-0 to Brighton and Tottenham. Mind those are difficult fixtures, and they're coming up against Bournemouth with 2 draws on the board, and obviously that absolute controversy in that game against Newcastle, where do we even start with VAR and the refereeing in that one? But Bournemouth are looking okay at the moment, aren't they? They seem a lot more together than this Everton side that it's just a bit all over the place at the moment, and they need, there's no easy fixtures in the Premier League, but they do need an easier fixture to get some points on the board. So yeah, I'm going 2-0 Bournemouth. 2-0
Bournemouth, yeah. I think Everton will get their first goal of the season in this one. They really need something. They need to get a point. They need to get something on the board, even if they can scrape a 0-0 draw in this one. But Bournemouth looked excellent last weekend, and they were very, very unlucky not to get all 3 points against Newcastle last weekend. So I think they will get their first victory themselves for the Cherries, because it has been back-to-back draws for Bournemouth, and I think they'll just edge this one. I think Everton would be a lot better than they have been, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 away victory to the Cherries. Next up, we've got Ipswich coming up against Fulham. Ipswich will see this one as a fixture that they could get something out of. They looked okay so far. They are in the relegation zone, even though it is only the second. This is only the 3rd game of the season. They did actually lead that game against Manchester City, but they were absolutely squashed in the end, where Haaland, etc., took over in that fixture. But not many people are going to get change out of Manchester City. I think they'll give Fulham a good game, but Fulham's squad is looking excellent. Smith Rowe getting on the score sheet. Pereira's looking really dangerous as well going forward. Anthony Robinson, I think he's American, isn't he?
Yeah.
Coming in, he's looking dangerous, coming from the full-back position. So this one, I'm just going to edge it to Fulham, but I think Ipswich at home with the crowd behind them will give Fulham a real tough test. But Fulham looking quality.
Yeah, I was thinking about giving this to Fulham, but the only thing is, with the way that, take away that Man City game, especially in the second half, with the way that Ipswich have played in the first half of both that Liverpool and Man City game, I'm liking a lot what they're seeing. I think their home form is going to come into it. Fulham, as much as I like the strength of that squad, I think this is going to be a banana skin for them, so I'm going to go 1-0 to the Tractor Boys in that one.
And Ipswich, of course, had a lot of players coming in.
Yeah.
So McKenna's going to have to find the ideal recipe and ingredients on wherever. And Smolix, well done for getting a goal last week.
Yeah,
anyway.
Very good. But anyway, moving on. Next, we've got Leicester up against Aston Villa. This is going to be a redemption arc, isn't it, for the villains? Leicester currently on the single point, losing, well, you could say quite convincingly to Fulham, who did put out a good performance, taking the points off Tottenham. But I just think with the way that Villa played, they did fall apart against Arsenal, but they're going to push on for a good start to the season. So I'm going to go for 3-1 to Aston Villa. Yeah,
Leicester haven't disgraced themselves so far this season, even though they've only picked up a point from their first two fixtures. Aston Villa, soundly beaten, perhaps in the end, by Arsenal, but Onana looks a real handful for any of their opponents that they take on. Morgan Rogers is looking at a real good player as well, coming to the fore this season. Ollie Watkins, after his exploits in the Euros, getting back into things now, and I expect Aston Villa will start to kick in now. They've got the victory in the first match away against West Ham, and I think they're going to have another good away performance, and I'm going to go for a 3-1 away victory to Villa. Next up, we've got the last of the 3 o'clock kickoffs, where Nottingham Forest coming up against Wolves. Nottingham Forest have started really well this season, currently in 7th position, a win and a draw, a good away victory against Southampton last time out. And away victories in the Premier League, Nottingham Forest isn't usually something you say is there, getting in the same sentence. But Wolves, like Everton, without a win in the Premier League this season, scored a couple of goals against Chelsea, but then they were blown away. I think it was 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2, and then they just fell apart.
So and everything as well.
If this was at Molineux, then I could have seen them getting something in this game. Cunha is getting amongst the goals as well, but I do fancy Forest. They look full of pace at the moment, Forest. So at the City Ground as well, I think they'll just sneak this one 2-1.
Yeah, I was thinking about going for a Forest win, but I have seen some things that I like whenever I watch Wolves, and they have had a difficult start to the season, so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt there, and I'm going to sit on the fence and go 1-1. Anyway, moving on, 5:30, once again on Sky, West Ham coming up against Manchester City. Manchester City just absolutely steamrolling Ipswich, especially towards that end of the second half. Mind, they did obviously get pipped by that Schmodek goal to the start as well. Whereas West Ham losing unluckily against Aston Villa for that first game, and then blowing away Crystal Palace away in a very good victory. Unfortunately, they are coming up against Manchester City, so with the way they've started, it's only going one way. So 2-1, I do think they'll score.
Now, the default prediction for this one is a straightforward Manchester City victory, but West Ham narrowly defeated by Aston Villa. An excellent win against Crystal Palace last time out, even though I think Palace, they hit the bar through Eze, and they had numerous chances, but they're just not putting anything in the onion bag at the moment. And West Ham, they've had their influx of new players, but for me, Souček has been playing really well. He's having a lot of shots as well. That's something I don't think we got out of him from the last couple of seasons. So going forward, West Ham looking good without scoring too many goals. Coming up against Manchester City, Haaland looks in fine form at the moment, and well done to anybody who triple captained him last week against Ipswich. But for me, can West Ham score? They can, but I don't think they will. I'm going to go for a 3-0 victory to Manchester City. He's probably stretching it there, but I think they'll gain all 3 points, and that'll delight the West Ham fans, won't it? So next up, first of the Sunday fixtures, 1:30 this one, Chelsea against Crystal Palace, all under an affair. Chelsea getting in the groove. Cole Palmer, I think he's got a goal and something like a hat-trick of assists there. And Madueke, I think that's how you pronounce it, got a hat-trick as well. Palace started not very good so far this season, although they have been dangerous in front of goal, but not putting away their chances. So I'm going to have to go for a 3-1 victory to Chelsea in this one. Yeah, I'm going to go for a Chelsea victory here, but I think it's going to be quite tight. Palace, we haven't seen the best of them yet. Well, they haven't put any points on the board, but they've been playing okay, and they've had a difficult start to the season. Brentford, they should have done better. West Ham got overloaded in the end, but at the end of the day, they've been putting out okay performances, so I'm going to keep it to 1-0 Chelsea in this one. Anyway, moving on to the actual game on Sky, Newcastle up against Tottenham. Now, Tottenham, what do you make of them? 4-0 against Everton, a side who've been struggling. And then when they just fell apart against Leicester, Newcastle themselves, they're looking very good. Mind, we all know what happened in that Bournemouth game, don't we? Just scoring the odd goal here in very fine margins. Not a very good record for Spurs at St James's Park, especially last season when they got absolutely battered. So yeah, I'm going to go 2-1. Yeah, Spurs got smashed 4-0 at St James's Park last season. Spurs, of course, smashing Everton 4-0, but Everton have been dire so far. So this one, Newcastle strong at home throughout last season, and they weren't too clever away. And for Spurs last season, I think they collected something like 27 points on the road, which was the 5th best in the Premier League for last term. So this one, I think Spurs will do a lot better. Newcastle, a little bit lucky, you could say, to get a point against Bournemouth last weekend. So Spurs going forward looking good. Defensively, they've looked quite sound as well. So I'm going to go for a draw in this one. I don't think I've predicted a draw in the Premier League this weekend, so I'm going to go for a 1-1 scoreline. And the final fixture of this game week, before the international break already, Nathan, live on Sky, we've got the big one of the weekend. We've got Manchester United coming up against Liverpool. Liverpool have been looking very good, especially going forward. Looks like they've sorted out the centre of defence as well, especially with that clean sheet against Brentford. Manchester United getting defeated, being defeated by Brighton last time out, albeit very, very late in that game. And prior to that, you could say they were very lucky to come through with a late winner against Fulham as well. So, all being said, looking at the forward line of Liverpool, Jota's looking good. Salah's is Salah. Gakpo hasn't really started because he came back from the Euros, but he's still to come in. Diaz is looking good, etc. So I'm going to have to shade this one to Liverpool, even though last season both of these matches ended up in a draw. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 away victory to the Reds of Liverpool. Yeah, I can only just see Liverpool winning this one, and that's just with the way the slot set them at the start of this season. So going to be close, probably a last minute goal, 2-1. Fantastic. Earlier in the video I mentioned that I go through the current predictions league. So top last week with 18 points and 3 perfect scores was Dappy 1993, and the overall table sees Ram Z currently on 31 points, just 1 point ahead of familiar friend there, Jog It. So Nathan, those are our predictions for the week. Just before the international break, you see you've got your Wales shirt on, coming up against Turkey. Unfortunately, we're not going to be at a football match this weekend because we've got other engagements. Yeah, we've got Southampton tomorrow night, haven't we? We have. So will there be a vlog out on the channel? Hopefully we'll give Russell Martin a nice little toxic atmosphere when he returns back there. Just a reminder, hopefully we'll drag Keam Ashford out to score an absolute screamer to beat them again, so that'd be nice. Hopefully, yeah, they did well last season. But those are our predictions. That's the video roundup for game week 3. Enjoy the football on the weekend. Enjoy the international break. Remember to leave your predictions over at the Superbru website. All the details are in the description as usual. We'll see you all in the next video.
Hey, I got something to say. I'm just so sick of hearing everyone complain. I know it's tough and I know there's pain, but hitting bottom is the only way to change. So I'll keep hustling, you keep struggling. Bitch, I'm humbling, keep mumbling. I'll keep doubling, you keep bluffing. You've got nothing, I'll keep hustling.